High FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Very good morning and welcome back to the Morning Mayhem with me, Howard Feldman. Over the next few weeks, 4 weeks exactly, we are going to spend a few minutes trying to answer some of life's biggest questions. And that is maybe like, why are we so weird? Why do intelligent people make such terrible decisions? Why do we worry about things that might never happen? And things like, when does one person in the office have the, rather why, not when, why does one person in the office have the ability to ruin an entire day? So there's so many things we wanted to talk about. And I'm not sure if you heard a number of discussions with Dr. Hanan Bushkin. He is a psychologist. He was in studio with Monique Bondi in Perfectly Polished. I think they had 2 sessions, right? Yep. They were really incredible, which is why I have hunted Hanan Bushkin down and made sure he comes to join us here on the morning show. And we're going to have a few weeks of this. Dr. Hanan Bushkin, good morning and welcome to the Morning Mayhem.
Thank you very much, Howard. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, you didn't really have a lot of choice, hey? But that's all right. That is all right. Okay, so we're going to try this. We're going to do 4 weeks, right? And what do you hope by the end of it that our listeners will gain from it?
I think, my life's mission really is to give people access to valuable information, valuable resources to make their lives better. Mental health shouldn't be a privilege only for those that can pay X amount for a session with a psychologist. That if once you get the right information, you can lead your life in a very healthy way. So if we can contribute to the knowledge base and people can use that information to make their lives better, from their health to their relationships to their sense of purpose, that's a tick for me.
Okay, brilliant. So, and in fact, we're going to rely on you, 061-895-1019. Give us feedback. Tell us if this is helpful, because this is, in a way, an experiment, because we're going to try this for a few weeks, and we want to know if this is something that resonates for you. This week, I want to focus on the stories that we tell ourselves. And I think we all know that. We all know that the reality is, we can grow up in the same household with the same parents, with siblings going to the same schools, and each of us has a totally different story. We've also see people who have access to the same information as we do, making very, very poor decisions. And I wanted to focus today on that. So I actually want to begin with a question, wondering if we actually make rational decisions, or do we make emotional decisions but come up with rational explanations afterwards?
So I want you to think about it this way. We are literally born into this world on day one, and we open up this internal map of how we should function and how the world works, and the map is empty. Okay. And then we see mom and dad argue, and that becomes part of our programming. Right. And then my first teacher tells me that I'll never pass my exam.
I'll never write with a pen.
Exactly.
I never got my pen right.
Exactly. I'll never pass matric. Yeah. And that becomes part of the programming. And my first girlfriend breaks up with me, and that becomes part of my programming. And my best friend, doesn't invite me to a party, and that becomes part of my programming. And before I know it, I've got a roadmap of how the world works. And human beings are addicted to not creating what they want, but rather repeating what they know.
So say that again.
Human beings are not addicted to creating what they want.
Right. But repeating
what they know.
We know. So we just go through we dance the same way, the same steps. Okay.
Because we are addicted to recreating familiarity.
Okay.
But once the programming is set, I go out of my way to prove myself right time and time again.
So even if I know it's bad for me, even if it's a big mistake and I'm aware of it, it's still safer to repeat the same pattern.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And the reason why is because the brain is really responsible for one thing, and that is survival. Okay. And the way your brain ensures your survival, it maintains or preserves what we call metabolic energy. And the best way to conserve metabolic energy is to stay with what you know.
Okay, makes sense.
Because once you stay with what you know,
Yes.
you don't have to learn
Right.
anything.
Once we've learned to drive a car, we don't need to think about driving.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Now
Got it.
imagine I take your car now and I just swap the accelerator and the brake around.
Yeah, it would
Now,
put my brain into,
even though it could be better for you as an
yeah,
example,
yeah.
even though as an example, your brain goes, no, 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 no. I want to stay with what I know. What I know is what I know. I like it. It's worked for me. I don't want to change. So we actually go out of our way to recreate what we know, and then we justify it with logic. So we never are really logical.
Right.
We just recreate.
I think you've
the
just answered
content.
why I've stayed with Samsung, even if iPhone is better.
No, exactly. Exactly. I'm also a Samsung.
Yeah,
And we can
you?
justify,
Of
for
course.
sure. And we can justify why Samsung is better, right?
We can.
And the
But-
people that are on iPhone, they're having an epileptic fit right now.
Right.
Because what do you
They-
mean?
yeah,
Exactly.
Right. So interesting.
And that's why we like people that are very similar to us. We like people that
Because
confirm
it
our
doesn't
biases.
change. It doesn't take too much brain space.
It
Brain
doesn't
energy.
need to change.
Got it.
Imagine I met every day, not with an Samsung person, but with an iPhone person telling me how Samsung is worse off than an iPhone. That takes a lot of energy. Now I've got to fend that off. I've got to fight that fight. I don't want to fight that fight.
Yeah.
I want somebody that just agrees with me.
Just give me a
because that-
Samsung person
Exactly,
because it's just
exactly.
easier,
Exactly.
even if they are.
But there's a cost to that.
Exactly.
And the cost is you stay with what you know. And what you know is not
Love that.
necessarily
Okay.
the right thing.
Right.
How many people are in terrible relationships, but they stay with what they know just because it's what they know? How many people are in jobs that don't give them satisfaction,
More
but
than
they stay
satisfaction.
exactly, but they stay with what they know because the alternative is very costly, metabolically very costly. So it has a cost to it. Even though it conserves our energy, at the same time it keeps us stuck.
Okay. So then I guess that is probably the reason, because my next question I wanted to ask you was looking at this confirmation bias, why we look to prove this all our reality or our story all the time. Is it for that reason that deep down we might know that it's not good for us, but I don't want to change, and therefore I'm going to keep proving my story?
Keep proving the story, because again, that requires zero effort for me. For me to now get you to learn an iPhone, again, the exertion, the energy that you have to do to learn a new iPhone is immense. Listen, the benefit could be better down the line because
Sure.
it could be a better phone or whatever it is. And we're using obviously that as an analogy for a relationship, for a new job, for financial security, for any companionship or whatever. But people don't want to exert energy right now. In the animal world, a lion either is hunting or it's resting. It's not using up unnecessary energy.
Right.
And the human brain doesn't like to use up unnecessary energy. So again, I'm going to engage with people that confirm what my belief is. That program, that map, if the brain had its way, the map would never change. But again, that's what creates that suffering. That's why I see people in my practice.
But so what happens then, let's say, with a person in an abusive relationship? Is it simply because it's better the devil you know?
Yes, of course. You don't know how many times, Howard, I see people that come to me, let's say a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she will say, Hanan, I want nothing more than to leave. So we empower her and she leaves. And on day one, when she leaves, the feedback is very, very, very common. They'll phone me and they say, Hanan, I think I made a mistake.
Wow.
He's not a bad guy.
Wow.
He didn't hurt me. I made that up. He's a great provider. He's a good father, etc., etc.
This is a pattern. You see this often.
Often. But it happens with everything. Leave the job. Oh my God, I made a mistake. Leave your relationship. Oh my God, I made a mistake. Even though that's what you've always wanted, the brain wants to go back to what it knows.
Amazing.
And when you create the alternative, your brain rejects that. Doesn't want that. Doesn't like
Because
that.
it's too hard.
Yeah. So we don't chase, again, what we want for ourselves.
Yes.
We chase what we've always known, because that requires zero energy.
So how do we get out of that? Because this is a pattern that extends to social media. We want the same. We want everybody agreeing with us. We don't want to read things that might be just too difficult to read. This is a pattern not only in, well, I mean, I know you've said jobs, relationships, all sorts of things, but this extends into everything, even our political beliefs.
So the value of staying with what you know is that it requires zero energy. But the cost is that you get stuck with an old programming that is no longer relevant or aligned with a new reality.
Right.
So you stay with a programming that was relevant maybe 10 years ago, but is no longer relevant today.
Right.
And to change that, you have to go through what we call cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is when I put myself in an environment or an experience that contradicts my programming, that contradicts my belief.
So you're saying cognitive dissonance in a positive way here?
Yes.
Or negative?
No, no.
Positive.
Well,
Because I've only
let's put it
used
this way.
cognitive dissonance. I've only heard of cognitive. So this is quite fresh for me, which is great. But I always know of cognitive dissonance to be something that somebody has to find a way to rationalize the irrational, but in a negative. You're saying using cognitive dissonance to break free from a mindset that you are trapped in.
Correct. An unhealthy mindset that you need to change. And there's no way around it. Because your brain to go from an old system that doesn't work to a new system that does work, it has to go through a process of grief and loss, which we call cognitive dissonance.
Wow.
Because your brain has to let go of what it knew.
Wow, I'm loving this.
And it has to hold on to the reality of what it is. And that's a sufferable state. So the analogy that I gave you, or the example, was the woman that leaves the abusive partner. And initially it's like, no, I made a mistake, I made a mistake, I made a mistake. But if she's prepared to be in that for long enough, she will go through the cognitive dissonance and eventually land where she's at.
Right.
She'll land. She will change her programming, and there's no shortcuts to this.
I was going to say, is everybody different, or is there sort of this stages that they're going to go through at a time that it'll take irrespective?
So it depends. Everybody will go through cognitive dissonance, but the intensity and the length of time depends on the programming that you're trying to change. So if you're trying to change a well-set program that's been there for the last 20 years or ever long, then you'll go through a lot more of an intense cognitive dissonance than if you're trying to change something that's been created last week. So the more intense the original negative programming,
the harder it is.
The harder it is.
Give us your feedback on this, 061-8951-019. Have you been in a relationship, in a work environment, in a social situation, in a friendship? I can tell you, I've been in friendships like that. That are difficult to actually change and difficult to get out of. I'd love to hear from you. Give me your thoughts and share your experiences if you are comfortable to do that. So what happens then to the brain when a person ignores the overwhelming evidence, but it doesn't fit either their beliefs or the reality? In other words, maybe somebody is in, we're using the example, an extreme, no, let's use a work situation. Somebody's working for a place. Their family knows it's not good for them. Their friends know it's not good for them. They can see that they are in completely the wrong environment. They're not being appreciated. All this evidence is there, but now they're ignoring it because this is where they're at. What happens to that person?
Well, once you hold on to an old programming, an old bias that no longer is relevant, well, you get stuck because it's not aligned with reality. Imagine me giving you a roadmap to drive from Joburg to Cape Town that was drafted in 1447.
Right.
Well, and you can believe it's true all you want. You're not getting to Cape Town.
Right.
You can wish you can wish for it,
yeah.
but you're not getting to Cape Town.
And you know you're not. In your cells, you know you're not.
But you're just not going to get there. And how would you now have spoken? Data is the most important thing. And the truth is, though, I would ask you and a patient, are you getting from point A to point B? And if the answer is no, then the programming is wrong. And if you are, then the programming is right. So if you're stuck and you keep on believing that the map that you drafted in 1447 is correct, I assure you, you're not going to get to your destination. And your destination when it comes to your marriage, your destination when it comes to your kids, your destination when it comes to your work, your financial security, your sense of purpose, your health, you're just not going to get there.
Okay. Have you caught yourself doing this? Have you done this? I know that's a very unpsychology-ish question, bouncing it back to you.
I do, but you know what? I try, Howard. I try to challenge myself all the time. I try to not get stuck with old programming because
you keep using that as an expression, and I like it, this old programming.
I try to not get stuck there because it's not going to get me to where I want to be. My goal in life is to be the best father that I can, the best husband that I can,
Mm.
the best psychologist that I can, the best friend that I can, the best son that I can. And if these things are important for me, I cannot afford to be stuck with programming that don't work.
It makes life quite hard, though. I mean, do you become harder on yourself with this mindset?
So I think in life, it's very important to live, and it's not a contradiction to actually want to do better, but at the same time be grateful for where you're at.
Yes, I see
So
that.
I want to improve for sure.
Yes,
And
yes.
we all should,
Right.
because that gives us a sense of purpose.
Sure.
But at the same time, see the value that you have in the here and
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. We are actually way out of time, but it doesn't matter because I've really, really loved this. I've got two things left that I want to go to. And one is what can we ask ourselves? What question can we ask ourselves if we notice that we're fooling ourselves? I guess it's, are we getting something? Yeah.
Exactly.
You see, I'm a quick study. Hey?
Exactly.
Jeez.
That's great.
Yeah, okay, but just repeat it for anybody who.
Am I getting to where I want to be?
Yeah. Are you getting to Cape Town?
Exactly.
Right.
That's the most important thing. Are you getting to Cape Town? Because that's fact. Are you getting to Cape Town? And by the way, when somebody says, well, I don't know what my Cape Town is with my marriage.
Sure.
I don't know what my Cape Town is with my work. I don't know what my Cape Town is with finance. That's the problem. We've got to create that Cape Town.
Yeah, and understanding that.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Okay, so as we wrap up the first episode, I actually just wanted to ask you one more question, and this is something I want to hope to do at the end of every one of these episodes. This week, when we catch ourselves thinking, "I'm definitely right," remember. ...
That I could be wrong.
Remember that I could be wrong. This week, when you catch yourself thinking, "I'm definitely right," remember, I could be wrong. Dr. Hanan Bushkin, before I let you go, where can we find some of your stuff?
So I have a podcast called Everything is Going to Be Okay, No Option B. That's on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And you can find me on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, under Dr. Hanan Bushkin.
Under Dr. Hanan Bushkin. Thank you for an incredibly interesting discussion.